Good morning or good afternoon, year 5, 6. Trust you're all well, doing fine. Obviously, I'm still missing you all. Special hello to year 6 because I've not seen you at all. And Mrs. Stafford and Mrs. Curley have asked me to do some writing lessons for you this week. So I thought this week we would be doing some letter writing. So year 5 and 6 will have the same task. Year 6, I'm going to add in a few extra things just to make it more applicable for your skills. But we're going to be doing some letter writing. I'm not going to tell you who to yet. But let's just have, are you going to go up? There we go. Right, okay. So this is the plan for the week. I think it's really important that we plan this letter carefully. So today, you're probably just going to listen to me, have some ideas. Day 2, you're going to actually put those ideas down. You can do that today as well, obviously, to make that plan work, because if we don't plan it, that letter is not going to be as good as it should be. Day 3 and 4, we're going to write our letters, so maybe do half one day, half the next day. Or you can do it all in one day if you want to and have a day off from writing. And on day 5, absolutely essential that we do some editing and improving. Because if we don't do that, it will not be as good as it could be. So that's the plan for the week. Why do we need to learn to write letters, Mr. Davis? I hear you cry. Letter writing is absolutely essential. You will all have to do it at some point, and most of you will be doing it now. So let's get it right. So it is an essential skill. So despite everybody writing emails and text messages at the moment or around the world, we still need to write letters, and we use those letter writing skills in our emails. So they might be a letter of complaint, a job application, might be a thank you letters, which my children hate to do, but I make them do them anyway. Letters requesting changes or making suggestions. I mean, it's an endless list. You might be writing to Santa Claus. You might be writing to the Tooth Fairy. You might be writing to your grandparents. The one that I think about the most when I see this is job applications. When I used to receive lots of job applications in my before I became a teacher, there were so many mistakes in them. And if I saw a mistake in a job application letter, I used to just put it to one side, and there would have to be a really good reason for me not to think that person wasn't going to come into work for me. So it is a hugely important skill. So what makes a good letter? And I was thinking about this. I love receiving letters, and I bet you do too. There's nothing quite like receiving a handwritten letter, and that happens very rarely now that I get a handwritten letter, maybe just from a member of my family. So to me, a good letter engages the reader. That means the reader is interested in it straight away. It tells you something you did not already know or consider, so it's informative. If it's a really bland and boring letter, then that's not very good, is it? It's just going to be put in the bin and not treasured or reread. I often read letters many times because they're so great, and I can imagine the person saying those things to me. And it's laid out using paragraphs, so it's easy to write. So I really want to make sure, particularly year 5, we focus on using our paragraphs. And every time we write. So handwriting, spelling, punctuation, grammar, all those things that we practice every single day, I want to see in this letter. So what are we writing? We're going to be writing an informal letter. So we're going to have a sender's address on the top right-hand corner of the page. Now, I was thinking about this. Just put the school address in there rather than your home address. We don't need to know your home address. Okay, we have to keep those things private. So just put the school address there in the top right-hand corner. Once you find out who you're writing to, you might change how you use the greeting because this is informal. It might be Dear Mary or Hi Mary or Greetings or Hello there. And at the end, love, lots of love, with thanks, see you soon, best of luck, best wishes, anything like that. So we're writing informally, so we can use contractions, we can use colloquialisms, which means phrases that we wouldn't normally use. So this is an informal letter. I know year 5 sometimes struggle between informal and formal. I'm sure year 6, you're much better at it now. So the crucial bit, who are you writing to? You're writing to year 5 or year 4. So if you're in year 6, you're going to be writing to year 5. If you're in year 5, you're going to be writing to year 4. Now you might choose to write to an individual, someone you know in that class, might even be a sibling, or you might choose to write to the whole class. So it could be Dear Year 5 or Dear Year 4. Okay, so what you're going to be writing about. So this is the plan. I bet some of you already guessed what it is you're going to be writing about. So you're going to be writing, and this is your introduction, is to tell them, to prepare them for the next school year in September. What do they need to know about going into the next year? So for year 4, what do they need to know about year 5? For year 5, what do they need to know? For year 6, what do year 5 need to know about going into the top form? Okay, being top of the class, top of the school, what do you need to know about it? So in your introduction, you're going to have to explain to them why you're writing to them and what it is they're going to find out. Obviously, because normally, if we didn't have quarantine and lockdown, there'd be a lot longer transition. So all these classes would find out a lot more about going up into the next year. So I want you to be able to tell them things about what to expect in the next year. So I kind of broke this down into positive and negative points because I'm sure some of you will have, well, all of you should have positive points. Some of you might have some negative points as well. And some of you might want to be humorous about that. So positive points, what would be the best thing about being in their new year group? What did you really enjoy this year? What of the inquiries did you think was the best? Did you have any trips that you really enjoyed? What was the best thing? And then what was the best thing about Mr. Davis or Mrs. Curley or Mrs. Stafford or Mrs. Lloyd? Now, obviously mine will be about how brilliant I am at art and drawing. So that's an easy one for most of you in year 5. And year 6 will remember how good I am, particularly at donkeys. Mrs. Curley and Mrs. Stafford and their amazing handwriting and art. Mrs. Lloyd about how she cares for everybody all the time. Not that we all don't care. So my great jokes might be in there. How funny I am? I don't know. And then some of you might think, oh, negative points. Are there any, I wonder to myself? I don't know. I'll leave that one to you. I can't think of anything negative about going into year 6. I certainly can't think of anything negative coming into year 5. Obviously, year 4 have an advantage because they've obviously been with me before when they're in year 3, so they've had a year off. So perhaps they appreciate me a little more or a little less, who knows? And this is a really helpful thing. If you could think back now, what would you do differently in year 6 or in year 5? What would you do differently that would make it a better year? Would you practice harder at your times tables? Would you work harder at your handwriting? Would you have a more positive attitude? What would you do differently? Okay, and then you might have a little funny top tip for surviving year 5 or year 6. What shouldn't you do? There's a little chance for you to be a little bit more humorous. So I'm going to put these online as well for you, and these will be your waltz. Oh, just going to change that. Change that, sorry. Yeah. So we learned to write a letter. Oh, look at that. Mr. Davis, what are you doing? That should be year 5. That's why I should edit these things more carefully. Right, year 5. These are things that we need to be doing in your writing. You need to have a contraction in, because this is informal, so cannot becomes can't, will not becomes won't, all those sort of things. Write in the first person, so lots of I, not too many. Open your sentences in different ways, so adjectives, similes, lots of different ways, techniques that we can use. Make sure you express your feelings. Okay, that's really important in a letter, so the reader knows how you feel about things, and make sure that letter is set out correctly using those paragraphs. So I'm expecting year 6 to do all of those things anyway, but some additional objectives for year 6. Could you include some speech? That's quite tricky, but you might be able to. Parenthesis, you know what that is now, so are we going to use some brackets or some dashes? Can you use metaphor? Could you start a sentence with a metaphor? That's a real challenge. And then I'd like to see either a colon or a semicolon or a dash, or more than one of those things in your writing. So that's what I'm going to be asking you to do. So good luck with that. Start thinking about it and then start planning it. I'm going to put some planning documents out online for you. But you don't have to use them. You can use Spidergram, or you can just write some notes down, and you need just to get those ideas formulated in your head before you start writing. Right, I'm going to go away now. I'm going to go and write a letter, and I will come back and see you in a couple of days' time and go through what I've done and see if that helps you with your writing. Okay, see you all very soon.